Hello viewers, in probability distributions we have already discussed binomial distribution and Poisson distribution. These two distributions are the discrete distributions, and we know that what type of random variables has the binomial or the Poisson distribution. For a large number of phenomena, a smooth and bell shaped curve serves as a mathematical model which describes their probability distribution. Such a curve is called the normal curve and the distribution is called normal distribution. The normal distribution is a most celebrated distribution in statistical theory. The IQ of university students, the amount of rainfall and the amount of error in filling say 1 pound jar of coffee serves as an example of the normal distribution. So, in this lecture we shall learn about one of the most important continuous distribution, namely the normal distribution, and the importance and characteristics of this distribution. The importance of the normal distribution is partly because of the central limit theorem. The central limit theorem says that if we have a random sample from a population observed in nature or arises in some practical situation, then the distribution of the sample mean follows the normal distribution for large values of the sample size. That is, when my sample size is large, then the distribution of the sample mean will converge to a normal distribution. Also, the importance of the normal distribution is because the many phenomena, like for example, the human's measurement, the weight, height and IQs follow the normal distribution. The normal distribution also describes sets of data that occurs in nature, industry and research. The normal distribution was discovered by an English mathematician De Morey in 1733. This distribution was rediscovered by Professor Gauss in 1809. He used it for study of errors in astronomy. Therefore, this distribution is also called the Gaussian distribution or the distribution of errors. According to Lippmann, everybody believes in the law of errors, the normal curve. The experiments because they think it is a mathematical theorem, the mathematicians because they think it is a experimental fact. Professor Youdin describes the importance of normal distribution in an artistic way. I quote, "The normal law of errors stands out in the experience of mankind as one of the broadest generalizations of natural philosophy. It serves as the guiding instrument in researches in the physical and social sciences and in medicine, agriculture and engineering. It is an indispensable tool for the analysis and the interpretation of the basic data obtained by observation and experiment." So, in particular, the normal distribution finds its significant applications in statistical quality control for setting control limits. By setting the control limits, we can know when the process is going on in an industry, whether the product which is coming out from the factory or from that industry is of satisfactory quality or not. The normal distribution also find its application in statistical theory of testing of hypothesis and in theory of estimation, that in turn in decision theory. Most of the distributions, as I said earlier, occurring in practice, for example, binomial, Poisson, etc., can be approximated by normal distribution. And many of the sampling distributions like T, F and chi-square and also the sample mean, as I just told, tend to normality for large samples. Now, we shall discuss the properties of a normal distribution. As I have said that the most important probability distribution in statistics is the normal distribution, and we can see that its shape is just like of a bell shaped curve. A normal distribution is a continuous probability distribution of a random variable, say x, and the graph of a normal distribution is called the normal curve. Now, you look at this graph. This graph describes a number of properties of the normal distribution. Now, first we look at the bottom. This f of x gives the probability density function of normal distribution, and this is equal to 1 upon sigma root 2 pi exponential of minus x minus mu whole square divided by twice sigma square. Here the value of E we know is 2.178 and the value of pi is approximately equals to 3.14. Also, the variable x and the constant mu, they lie between minus infinity and plus infinity. That is, x can take any value in an interval between minus infinity and plus infinity. So, the value of mu and the sigma, the other constant which appear in this probability density function, always take a positive value. Here the mu and sigma, which are the constants which appear in this probability density function, are known as the parameters of the normal distribution. Now, we look at this graph. This graph has been drawn by taking the values of x on x axis and the values of f of x on y axis. Then we observe that this curve is symmetrical about x equals to mu, and for the value x is equal to mu minus sigma and for mu plus sigma, these 2 points gives me the inflection points of the curve. Now, we list the properties of the normal distribution. The mean, median and mode of the normal distribution are equal and it is equals to mu. That is, the mu, the constant which appeared in the probability density function, is nothing but the mean of the normal distribution. And being a symmetrical curve, we know that mean, median and mode always coincides. So, the value of mean, the value of median and the mode is equals to mu. Second, as we have observed that the normal curve is bell shaped and symmetric about the mean. Third, the total area under the curve is equal to 1. The fourth is that the normal curve approaches, but never touches the x axis, as it extends farther and farther away from the mean. Fifth is, between mu minus sigma and mu plus sigma, in the center of the curve, the graph curves downward. The graph curves upward to the left of mu minus sigma and to the right of mu plus sigma. The points at which the curve changes from curving upward to curving downward are called the inflection points. So, the points of inflections are at x equals to mu minus sigma and at x is equal to mu plus sigma. Then the next property, that beta 1, which we know that it is a coefficient of skewness and it is equals to mu 3 square upon mu 2 cube, where mu 3 and mu 2 are the third and second central moment. So, the value of beta 1 is equals to 0 and the value of coefficient of kurtosis, that is beta 2, is equals to 3, and the mean deviation about mean is approximately equals to 4 upon 5 times sigma. Also, the first quartile, that is q 1, is equals to mu minus 0.6745 times sigma, and the third quartile, that is q 3, is equals to mu plus 0.6745 times sigma. Thus, quartile deviation, mean deviation and standard deviation are in proportion to 10, 12 and 15. Now, let us see the role of mean and standard deviation in describing the normal curve. We know that the mean mu of normal distribution can have any value between minus infinity and plus infinity, whereas by definition standard deviation sigma takes positive values. Now, this is the graph for mu is equal to 3.5 and the value of standard deviation sigma is approximately equals to 1.3. Now, this second graph is plotted for mu is equal to 6 and sigma equals to 1.9. Then we know that mean gives the location of the line of symmetry, and here the point of inflections are at mu minus sigma and mu plus sigma. So, in case of the first graph, the point of inflections will be at 3.5 minus 1.3, that is at approximately equals to 2.2, and the second point of inflection will be at mu plus sigma, that is at the point 3.5 plus 1.3, that is at 4.8. So, this gives me the point of inflection, and here the point of inflection will be at 6 minus 1.9 and taking value x is equal to 6 plus 1.9, that is the 7.9 will gives me the point of inflection. And we know that standard deviation describes the spread of the data. So, here when I compare the standard deviation of the two curves, here the standard deviation is 1.3, and so we can see that the spread of this curve is comparatively less than the spread of the second curve, where the value of standard deviation is 1.9. Now, look at these figures. Here we have the two normal curves A and B. Now, the question arises, which curve has the greater mean? Question second is, which curve has the greater standard deviation? Now, we can see that the line of symmetry of curve A occurs at x is equal to 5, whereas the line of symmetry of curve B occurs at x equals to 9. So, the curve B has the greater mean, and curve B is more spread. We can see that this curve B has more spread than the curve A. So, curve B has the greater standard deviation. Now, let us look at the another example. The height of fully grown Magnolia bushes are normally distributed. The curve represents the distribution. What is the mean height of a fully grown Magnolia bush? And we have to estimate the standard error of this normal distribution. Now, looking at this graph, we can estimate the point of inflection, that the point of inflection on the left of the mean, that is mu minus sigma, is approximately equals to 7.3, and the point of inflection on the right of it, we can see that it is at x is equal to 8.7 approximately. So, the other point of inflection is mu plus sigma, which is approximately equals to 8.7. Now, solving these two equations, we can get the value of mu as 8 and the value of sigma as 0.7 feet. So, once a normal curve is given and we know its point of inflection, then we can estimate its mean and standard deviation by solving these two simple equations that is mu plus sigma, which is in this case approximately equals to 8.7, and the mu minus sigma, which is in this case equals to 7.3. So, by solving this, we get an idea or the estimated value of mu and sigma, and once the values of mu and sigma are known, then my probability distribution is completely known. So, the heights of Mongolia bushes are normally distributed with a mean height of about 8 feet and a standard deviation of about 0.7 feet. Therefore, we can see that if we look at the normal curve, then we can estimate our point of inflections, that is mu plus sigma and mu minus sigma, and this gives me the two equations, and solving these two equations we can estimate the values of mu and sigma very easily. Now, we come to a most difficult part of the normal distribution, that is the calculation of probabilities of a normal random variable. So, if a random variable x is normally distributed, you can find the probability that x will fall in a given interval by calculating the area under the normal curve for that interval. Now, let us see how we calculate the probabilities that the random variable x is less than 15, when the value of mu is 10 and the value of sigma is 5, that is the mean and standard deviation of x variable are 10 and 5 respectively. Then this graph we can see that probability of x less than 15 means we have to find the curve between minus infinity to 15, that how much area is there of this curve is covered by this interval minus infinity to 15, and this area of the curve gives me this probability. Now, let us look at the second example. Here now we would like to know what is the probability that x lies between 60 and 80, when the distribution of x is normal having parameters 78 and 8, that is the value of mu is equals to 78 and the sigma is equals to 8. When we look at the graph of this normal curve, we see that this graph is symmetrical about mu is equal to 78, that is at x is equal to mu. Then this area of the normal curve gives me the probability, that is probability that x lies between 60 and 80. Now, the question arises how we can obtain this area. Well, mathematically speaking, this probability means that we have to integrate the probability density function taking the lower limit as 60 and the upper limit as 80. So, in this case the probability that x is greater than 60 and less than 80 is equals to 1 upon 8 root 2 pi integral of e to the power minus half x minus 78 upon 8 whole square dx, and we have to integrate it from the limit 60 to 80. Similarly, in the last example, the probability of x less than 15 means we have to integrate the probability density function by taking the lower limit as minus infinity and the upper limit of the integral as 15. Now, we can see that every time this solving this integral is not a easy task. In fact, I should say that it is a very difficult task, especially for those students who does not have a strong mathematical background. And we know that the normal distribution being a very useful distribution, it occurs in many other disciplines also, like in economics, whether it is in psychology, whether it is pertaining to some other fields of sociology, then it becomes very difficult to solve the integral every time. So, what is the solution of this? And the solution is that we should apply a certain transformation on x variable and convert this variable into a standard normal variable. then it becomes very easy for us to compute these probabilities using the statistical tables of normal distribution. So, today we have discussed one very important continuous distribution of statistics, that is the normal distribution. We have seen that how normal distribution is important and it can be used in a number of statistical methods. Lastly, we have discussed that what do we mean by probability of a normal random variable and what difficulty we face in calculating such probabilities, that we are going to discuss in our next lecture. Thank you.